I live below a cult leader and I fear that I've angered her. So I, female 28, have lived in the same apartment for 4 years. My neighbors in the unit above me are a couple in their 30s who have lived there for about 3 years with no issue between us. During the past 6 months, I've noticed some changes in their behaviors. At first, it was just a few days per week, I'd hear music with heavy bass accompanied by rhythmic jumping. I assumed they bought an exercise bike or something, but sometimes the jumping gets so intense that it shakes my overhead light fixtures. The jumping routine has been escalating to the point that it takes place every day, normally between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. I also noticed that they called 1-800-JUNK and got rid of a lot of nice possessions. However, I figured none of this was my business, so I kept my observations to myself. About 3 weeks ago, everything escalated. Multiple times per week, on weekdays and during work hours, it sounds like they're hosting a mini Burning Man event in their apartment. The music is so loud and clear that it sounds as if I'm at a concert while sitting in my living room. There is clearly a lot of people involved because the jumping and stomping shakes multiple light fixtures and cabinets. The music is a mix of new age and spiritual vibes, dance beats, and a male voiceover giving weird instructions like, rebrand yourself, surrender yourself, stomp, stomp, in response. I've taken audio recordings on my phone and one video from the hallway during these events. I didn't complain to the building, but I wanted evidence in case it became a regular thing. This week, I've encountered a big problem. The couple above me has a private patio, which is directly above my bedroom. I came home from a 3-day trip out of town yesterday, and my ceiling is legitimately collapsing in one corner. Big chunks of plaster had fallen to the ground, and I saw a little bit of water. I immediately called my superintendent since I didn't want to be buried alive by ceiling rubble if it gives out. When he came to check it out, he was shocked and pissed. He said that the woman in the couple appears to be working with some people doing workshops or something. He can see their patio from his apartment window and has watched the group do these dancing plus jumping plus dirt rituals out there on a weekly basis. He said they all dance and jump to the music and then spread dirt, along with something else. He doesn't know what it is, across the patio on a weekly basis. He believes that the dirt plus unknown substance combo is getting through the wood cracks, absorbing water, and weighing down my ceiling. To fix the problem, my super said that he had to go talk to the woman, check out their patio, and ultimately hire a contractor to pull up the wood to scrape out whatever the hell is causing my ceiling to fall. I could hear them talking from my room, and the woman sounded distraught and defensive. When my super left, he called me and warned me that she might try to come down to my apartment and demand to see the damage, but don't let her in. This was a little concerning to me. Is she a threat? The damage is real, like I wouldn't mind showing her. She started playing her music again relatively loud, kind of like a warning shot. I mentioned the music/jumping to the super and said I had audio recordings. He started begging me to send the evidence to the front office. It sounds like he wants them evicted. I said okay, sure. I hate to be a rat, but if I had to choose sides, I'll side with the building that dictates my annual rent price. He called me twice more that afternoon to confirm that I shared my evidence and I said yes. Shortly after everything went down, I left my apartment to run an errand. The woman was outside just standing on the sidewalk and stared at me the whole time as I walked by. I ignored her. Now today, I went to run another quick errand in the neighborhood, and when I returned, the couple was again standing on the sidewalk. Both of them this time. They followed me into the building and then waited until I was opening my apartment door to confront me. They were both wearing creepy fake smiles. The woman has horse girl hair down to her waist and started interrogating me. They asked, "Is your ceiling really collapsing? When did it start? Do you think that it was related to the recent rainfall? Because our patio is just fine." I was a little bit uncomfortable. Were they waiting for me outside? How did they know that I even left the building? Why were they both standing there? I've literally never seen them enter together in their 3 years of living here. But I have nothing to hide, so I confirmed the damage is pretty bad. I just don't want it to fall during the winter. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but hopefully the work will be done quickly for everyone's sake. They seemed satisfied enough, so I said have a good day and I shut my door. I'm getting the sense that they are nervous about what the contractors will find when they tear open their patio. What the hell is up with the dirt rituals? Who are these people that she's working with? I don't know what they look like or why they're available to stomp around on weekdays. The repair work has started on both sides, but the contractors will come on Wednesday for the grand reveal of what's under the patio that's making my ceiling collapse. In the meantime, I feel like I need to be alert and keep my eyes out for these people as well as the couple. It's unusual for me to see them in general, especially twice in 2 days. They seem scared and in denial of their problem. They also literally ambushed me. Hopefully it's over soon. In the comments, "Oh OP, you sound so rational and dealt with all of this like a rock star. Not to be insensitive, but this read like a novel. Like, this is super odd, and now I want to know what the contractors find. The way that your super responds also makes me wonder if he knows something about them, but can't tell you. I'm so glad your super is doing something about it. I hope for your mental health they are evicted to do their dirt cult business somewhere else. Fingers crossed for you." OP replies, "Thank you. It is super odd, and I'll definitely update the post next week after the contractors pull up the patio boards. I also think the super knows more than he's willing to share with me right now, since he was so adamant about reporting the evidence. After I told him I had sent it, he said, 'Okay, we'll just relax for now.' So clearly he was on edge. It seems like he's seen a lot of weird stuff, and I've heard a lot of weird stuff. So together I think we can build a solid case. Hi. I won't go into detail for privacy reasons, but I work with a company that does all the actual human-needed work for incident reports for a ton of apartment companies. Filing, investigating, judgment calls on what needs to be done about incidents, and working with insurance. The red tape stuff. I'm not sure how much your super actually knows, but I can tell you that the photo/video evidence is the literal make or break factor in some of these claims. Laws exist to protect residents, which is great until what they're doing is stuff like your cult neighbors. It's actually pretty hard to evict them without it, and before they do even more damage to your property. More than likely, after the contractors do work, they may end up calling in a structural engineer after they find the source. Depending on what they say, both you and the couple may need to be put in other accommodations. They are at fault, but you're a liability claim waiting to happen. Your hotel stay, the repairs, the insurance, everything adds up quickly. Just reading this makes me think thousands of dollars of work. For your safety and the safety of the people in your building, sometimes reporting this stuff early is really the best move. I really hate siding with property 90% of the time because people have a hard time finding places to live on even in the best terms, but you need to live somewhere safely too. And OP replies, "This is really helpful insight. Thank you. My super has been in frequent contact with me since I alerted him yesterday. Clearly he senses the urgency that you described, so I'll suggest he takes photos and videos of what he sees if it continues. I am in my living room right now, and I actually just noticed that there are some substantial cracks in the sheetrock above me here that were not there around 2 months ago. I took photos, and will show him when he's back in my apartment next week. They aren't big enough that I'm worried pieces will fall in this room, but it's definitely evidence that the jumping is causing structural damage, so it just needs to stop ASAP. Time for them to be evicted. They cannot behave in this way or damage the property. They are living in a shared space. Some people have no respect for their neighbors. Keep documenting, please. Keep turning it in. They need a lot of evidence before they can evict. Also, is it possible for you to move to another unit? Honestly, you could sue the complex because if they didn't immediately resolve the problem and it caved in on you, there is a huge lawsuit waiting to happen. Keep on the management. You have every right to feel safe." And OP replies, "Yeah, I've been documenting and including the time and dates. The building manager asked if she could call me today after I sent her the evidence. I told her that I wanted to be anonymous, but she said that would be tricky since the complaint is jumping, so they'll know it's me. For now, our game plan is for me to leave them a note next time the music and/or jumping starts and report back to the building about how they respond. I really love my space, so I don't want to move, but I'll update the post when we find out what's under the patio. Back up to the post, we have an update. The contractors came today and reported that there was, in fact, dirt and sludge visible below the neighbor's patio. However, thanks to the help of my internet sleuthing friend, I've gained a lot more insight into the realm that dwells above me. As one Redditor suggested, my neighbor is affiliated with the multiple eclastic dance communities, both international and local. The international group has planned events during which all cells of the organization host dance sessions simultaneously. It also has a YouTube channel that streams Psy trance music 24/7. I've listened to a portion of it, and a female voiceover declared, "You are becoming the Game Master." Meanwhile, the local group seems to be more exclusive and more radical in their mindset. One of the local groups, hosted by my neighbor's good friend, conducts 3-day events that cost upwards of $400 for admission. Participation in all 3 days is mandatory. I get the impression they all sleep in the studio space, and the event description mentions that it begins with a ritual. The largest and darkest affiliation that I've confirmed via social media footprints is that my neighbor and a few members of the local communities are also involved with some compassionate death groups. There is no way for me to verify at this time if these affiliations overlap in a meaningful way, so I will simply state the fact that I have evidence to prove. My super asked me about the jumping again when I saw him today. He remains eager to act. He agreed with my new game plan to wait for another large event to happen and then call him to check on my dishwasher so he can intervene. So for now, the ways in which the puzzle pieces of eclastic dance, compassionate death, patio dirt rituals, and ceiling collapse connect will remain a mystery. And now, onto the update. Hey everyone, thanks for your interest in my strange saga. While the contractors will be arriving at 8:30 AM tomorrow to start the patio upheaval process, I have a few updates to share since I last posted 4 days ago. The couple and the people. So the couple has gone back to elusive mode since their confrontation on Friday. I haven't seen either of them, but I heard the woman talking on the phone while checking her email. I live by the building front door. She mentioned that the next one is on ... and then the person on the line cut her off. But it sounded like she was planning her next workshop already. At least I'll be prepared for it, and will call my super to fake check on my dishwasher so he can bust them when the people are present. As for the people, I think I've identified one member of the group. On Saturday, I heard the music at an ambient level. Mostly just bass / not enough to launch a complaint, as well as increased foot traffic in the stairwell. Since it was a weekend, these observations alone could be a coincidence. I was in my apartment until late afternoon when I left to meet up with my friends. My boyfriend has been staying with me so I don't have to enter or exit the building alone. As we went down the stairs, I saw a man outside standing directly in front of the building's door. My building is next to a few establishments, including a coffee shop, so it's common for people to accidentally stand in front of the doorway without realizing that it's an apartment building. But every time I open the door behind someone in my path, the other person's reaction is inevitably the exact same. Turn, quick moment of recognition, then move far out of the way. Not this guy. He was giving bouncer energy with a wide stance, clad in a black cut-off t-shirt, sunglasses, and a black baseball cap. He also had a well-groomed mustache, but that was the only identifiable feature about him. He was looking at his phone when I opened the door, but when he turned around, he looked at me, sidestepped just enough for me plus my boyfriend to pass, returned to his position, and then started texting while looking at us while we got into the Uber. My boyfriend agreed that his demeanor was odd, and his doorway stance was like someone waiting to get into the building or new people inside. He could have just caught the door to go in when I was leaving though. People do that sometimes. After this encounter, along with the fact that I heard more people come into the building that day, a potential theory is that the group wanted to know when I would be out of my apartment so they could do their jumping routines without interruption. I think I saw the same man the following day, but he was sitting on the bench next to my building's front door instead of standing. I'm also not 100% sure that it was him because he wasn't wearing the baseball cap, balding head underneath, and sat hunched over his phone so I couldn't see his face well, but I did notice the well-groomed moustache. The next steps. Yesterday, my super was the one standing in front of the building. He hangs out around the block every day, but he was leaning on brick between my building's front door and the establishment to the immediate right. He told me about the 8:30 a.m. contractor arrival on Wednesday, but I wonder if he was also scaring off the weekend door guard with his presence. Now for the final clues of interest. I'm Instagram friends with a person who lives on the 3rd floor of my building. She looks a little older than me, mid-30s, but we have similar energy/lifestyles. Unlike me, she's a big Burning Man person. I'm not sure if the couple actually went. Their music just reminded me of it. So there was a small chance that I'm living in a Rosemary's Baby scenario. I decided to message her on Sunday to find out if she knew anything. She said she was sorry about my ceiling, confirmed that she's heard the loud music a few random times inside, and agreed the dirt spreading sounded bizarre. She hadn't witnessed anything, she doesn't seem like the investigative type, but she did send me a short video with her view of their patio. While the patio's appearance was nondescript to an average viewer, there were a few strange things that stood out to me. On the day my super chipped off all my unstable ceiling plaster, Friday, I also heard a power drill and potentially a saw at work on the patio overhead. Of course, I assumed some preliminary work was taking place to prepare for the contractors, so I didn't think anything of it. In the Sunday video, there were a lot of plants all around the perimeter of the patio. The center of the patio was empty, no objects, while a wicker couch was positioned in the corner directly above my damaged site. Why this is weird. First, I used to be able to see an outdoor dining table plus at least 4 plastic chairs in the center area. Maybe they got rid of these when they called 1-800-JUNK. Second, plants would potentially explain some of the dirt, but why was there a couch atop the area with ceiling collapse instead of plants? The couch was likely moved to that spot recently since it was allegedly rainfall that caused the water damage overload. A wicker couch would have shielded that entire area from excess water. Third, like I said, I swear that I heard a power drill and saw on Friday afternoon, but from the video, all the wood planks looked intact. In fact, the entire patio looked undisturbed despite the fact that the contractors are coming and will need a clear space. So it is possible that they got a head start with work in the water damage area, and then covered up the opening with the couch? Maybe they wanted to clear some of the evidence. I haven't heard any sounds of moving objects, i.e. plants, couch, etc., since I saw the video on Sunday, so I'm wondering what their game plan is for the contractors. I would expect them to at least move the plants, and the couch will ultimately have to move since my super said they'll be tearing up the entire deck to make sure that my ceiling is safe again. I'll post a second, shorter update tomorrow evening or Thursday morning after more information comes out. Thanks again for following along. This has been a wild journey, and I fear that it's far from over. And now onto the latest update. On Monday, my super came to replaster my bedroom ceiling. First, he said that my neighbor told the contractors she has a lot of plants because she makes bush medicines. She also told him that the dancing is a part of her professional practice as a healer for people who are in bereavement after the loss of a loved one. So my friend and I weren't far off when we made the connection between her ecstatic dance and compassionate death affiliations. I showed him new cracks in my living room ceiling that are growing in size and number by the day. He told me to send videos of the cracks to building management, but management suggested that I start with a handwritten note by their door explaining how their behaviors are wreaking havoc on my life. Since the super was working in my apartment, my neighbor was actively bumping music plus jumping, I wrote a note in which I requested she reduce the volume of her music and be mindful of the intensity of her activities. I explained that the jumping, or dancing, was causing significant new cracks in my living room ceiling, and I offered for her to speak with me directly if needed. While I was reluctant to suggest this, I knew she might try another stalking trick if I didn't give her the option up front. So I sent her the note. After 90 minutes, my super said that he had to leave for an hour while the plaster dried, but that he would be back soon. Of course, my neighbor chose the end of this time frame to come down when I was alone. When I opened the door, she again had the biggest fake smile and said, "Hi," and then waved the note. "First of all," she said, "I want to thank you for your open communication. That is so important and so rare in our city." Fake flattery. She admitted that she dances, which she has to do for her mental health, but she claimed that she only dances in the mornings for about 30 to 60 minutes or 90 minutes max. I knew she was lying, so I said that her actions are affecting my mental health. She followed up with a range of excuses, including that they had been in the process of rearranging furniture, unpacking boxes, and then sometimes watch movies in the evening with their loudspeakers. I showed her the cracks that were immediately visible from the doorway area. She pointed to one and said, "See, we used to have one table over there, but now we have two due to the furniture rearranging, so maybe that's the reason. We also have cracks in our ceiling, and we all have to share this space." I asked her about hosting any large events in the past month, which she flat out denied. She briefly mentioned that she does sessions, but didn't elaborate further. The following suggestion, I later realized, was entrapment. My neighbor said that she would give me her phone number, go upstairs, /lower the volume, then I should text her to let her know if I could still hear it. Thankfully, my super came back while she was in the process of sharing her contact information. She immediately tensed up, quickly gave the number, and then scurried off. As she passed my super, she randomly blurted out, "We're best friends now," referring to me and her. My super and I are both very aware of the antics, so of course he didn't buy that manipulation tactic. I texted her that I couldn't hear the music now, to which she responded, "So glad to hear that. Thanks again for opening a line of communication. I'm always happy to chat. Hope you have a lovely day. Prayer hands and a heart emoji." In retrospect, I think she wasn't playing the music at all. I also felt like our conversation was riddled with gaslighting, misdirection, and flat-out lies. I was somewhat confused, but I know what I've been experiencing and have plenty of evidence to prove it. Within hours of our conversation, my neighbor started up the loud music plus dancing as if nothing happened. I was furious. I took new audio recordings and immediately emailed building management with my new evidence. Footage of the ceiling cracks, along with a photo of my note. I explained that my neighbor was kind, though somewhat misleading, and expressed interest in accommodating my requests. I also said her behaviors were continuing as normal despite the false claims that she would take my experiences into account. The building manager said to keep her updated, but it was clear that she assumed the situation would be resolved on its own. Nope. My neighbor continued with the incessant bass-heavy music plus jumping shenanigans the next day, and the day after. I continued to document everything. On Wednesday evening, I went out for a quick errand and again was a victim of the stalking tricks. She ran into me as I was entering the building, waited until I passed her on the stairwell, and then spoke up. She acknowledged that I've probably still been hearing her activities the past couple days, and that I will continue to hear them for the next few days, all due to rearranging furniture. She said the coffee table had been sold that day. Not true. I was working in my living room all day and would have heard such a commotion in the stairwell. I said yes, I have been hearing her loud and clear. Shortly after this in-person encounter, my neighbor went on to host a party. I heard people in the stairwell who seemed unfamiliar with whose apartment they were even visiting, and one guest introduced herself as a friend of someone else. While the music was much lower, the group began running back and forth overhead. Hearing these strange activities without the music was somewhat creepier than with the music. I took more recordings and then retreated to my bedroom. But of course, the group decided to migrate to their patio, right above my head again. By 10:30 p.m., I had enough. They were no longer dancing, but the group's chatter, along with the ethereal music, a female soprano singing vocalizations, was too much. I sent her a text. I explained that I understand she has every right to host guests in her space, but I was perturbed by the way that she'd said to my face that any excess noise I might hear in the coming days was from rearranging furniture. I said that I could hear music and conversations very clearly as the noise filters through my AC unit. I also said to please let me know if they will be hosting events in the future so that I'm not caught off guard. While my neighbor didn't respond that night, within minutes of me sending the message, the group began to sing the Happy Birthday song in the most somber way that I have ever heard it sung. I was able to record the second half of it. They sang in a monotone, and there was no clapping, cheering, or any standard signs of merriment that occur after singing the song. The following afternoon, my neighbor sent me a wall of text, in which she continued to lie. She said that the gathering was very small, only 4 friends, so it didn't even cross her mind to let me know when she saw me earlier. She also said that it was the first time they had hosted more than 2 people over this entire year. I honestly had to laugh at that. She said when she first saw my text, they lowered the music volume and told the friends to quiet down. So she admitted that she saw my message, but made no intention of any birthday affair. As for the furniture rearranging, she explained that it's been a part of a long-term project, smiley face, and added more lies like how they had just received a dining table and a bookshelf that they'd been waiting on for 8 months. Not only would I have seen such large packages in the stairwell, but also why share so much irrelevant information if being truthful? Finally, my neighbor said that they will be hosting 2 more events next week. Another small gathering of 4 friends next Wednesday in honor of her partner's birthday, and a large gathering on Friday, again for his birthday. Like I said, she made no mention of singing Happy Birthday the night before. Who would host 3 birthday parties over 2 weeks? It was all false. She followed up 5 minutes later with a second text that explained that she was late to respond because she's been in back-to-back sessions. So I finally had written evidence of her talking about these sessions. I didn't respond to the text. I refused to engage her or her partner any further. They continued to play music and stomp around that evening, but I had my boyfriend and a friend over who overheard everything and validated me that all of this is absolutely maddening. On Friday, I finally called my building manager to explain everything. She needed to understand that something very strange and potentially dangerous is going on above me. Thankfully, I was finally believed. It turns out my building had no idea that she was running some form of a business and hosting group events. I thought they at least had a vague awareness. The building manager said they would get the attorney involved ASAP to review their lease contract and pursue action. She asked for all of my evidence, including written communications, a personal written account of verbal communications, audio recordings, and footage of ceiling damage. I've been taking videos of the ceiling cracks over the past few weeks to demonstrate how quickly they are growing. I made a Google folder that divided each category, dated every piece of evidence, and sent. I was so relieved. It felt like some form of action was finally in motion. I assumed the building attorney was working on a case against them over the weekend, so I ignored their relentless music plus jumping. But today, Sunday, my neighbors have been hosting yet another gathering since 11:30 a.m. I've been hearing heavy bass, sporadic jumping, and chatting on their patio for going on about 7.5 hours now. While I've continued to collect my evidence, I decided to wait until tomorrow to check in with management. Around 5 p.m., I was quietly sitting on my couch when, out of nowhere, I heard the door open from above. Someone jogged down and then pounded on my front door. I didn't move a muscle. The person on the other side waited for about a minute. I thought that I heard keys jingling, and then they slowly retreated back upstairs and shut the door again. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on now. The music plus jumping increased after the knocking incident. Maybe they were testing if I was home, but I'm rattled by how I'm feeling watched when I'm minding my own business. At the same time, I want to keep laying low to protect myself. I still have very little information about this group. They are clearly escalating, 3 events planned within 1 week, despite added pressure from everyone around them. In the meantime, I edited a new video with my recent recordings, including the creepiest happy birthday of all time, footage of the living room ceiling damage, and audio recordings from the gatherings. Whenever my neighbors succeed in making contact, or I'm notified about a solid resolution, I will update the post. Please don't comment with remind me notifications, but to whoever is listening, thank you for supporting me during this insane neighborly crisis. Once it's all over, I hope that I never have to meet these two quacks again. In the comments, if you're in the US, you can tell the cops. Disturbing the peace is a real thing. Also, get enough of those and it voids an apartment lease, making it easier for the landlord to kick her out. OP replies, yeah, that's part of the plan now. I called the building manager again this AM, and she said next time call the cops ASAP for noise complaints. That way we'll have the police report / more evidence. Honestly, you have the patience of a saint. I would have called them by the third time that they were making all that noise. I sincerely hope that the building manager and lawyers are able to remove them from the building / complex and that you are safe. Something about them terrifies me. I am so worried that the ceiling is going to fall on you. It does not sound safe to live there at all. Have the contractors come by yet? I really hope that you can move out ASAP, as your apartment doesn't seem structurally sound. OP says, yeah, the contractors plus Super worked last week. It took like 4 days due to the amount of damage to fix all of the new cracks. Building management requested we do this, and then I sent them dated videos of the repairs. That way, when the cracks inevitably reappear, we'll have even more evidence that the cause is their activities. I'm honestly baffled that you're the only neighbor who seems to be complaining about this. Do the others not hear it as well? OP says, I know, right? It's a small, vertically arranged building, so I'm the only tenant that's affected below them. I asked the tenant above, and they said that they've heard the music at random times, but they also work in office, travel a lot, and have a similar nonchalant attitude as I did initially. I think they can't hear the bass reverberate as strongly or hear the stomping. I would not have lasted 1 day with that crap going on above me. That would have been constant calls to the building manager, owner, whoever I needed to get involved to stop the excessive amount of noise and music, and jumping up and down and stomping going on above me. WTF. I would have asked to be moved or released from my lease if no resolution was immediately found. Holy hell, I am so glad I no longer live in a multi-family building. Some people have no respect for anyone else. I know, right? Call the building manager, the police, a lawyer, anything to get the ball rolling. The building manager should have never had her write the notes. They are putting her in danger. I would get a lawyer and state that the active threat to her safety from both these people harassing her and the ceiling collapsing in on her, they better do something or they would legally be on the book. I kept waiting for the next update to say, my ceiling caved in and there are 10 people in my apartment now. I just hope that the dirt is not human ashes, with all the weird ritual stuff for departed and all. Could you imagine leading a ritual in which remains are trampled into the earth, but instead, they're being trampled into someone else's floor and another person's ceiling? That's like a buffet of defilement. Am I the asshole for advising my friend against coming out? Okay, so I, 23 female, have a friend Sam, who's the same age as me, who is a female to male transgender individual. However, I am one of the very few people who know this, and he generally still presents as female. This is because his family, mum, dad, grandfather, are all, quite frankly, horrible homophobics. Seriously, I've been to their house 3 times since Sam and I met in middle school, and each time one of them has launched into some sort of hateful rant, completely unprompted. Now, here is where it gets complicated. Horrible as he might be, Sam's grandfather is very wealthy, and Sam is set to inherit $2.5 million when he dies, which will probably be soon due to the man's rather serious health conditions. Sam has seen the will and knows this for a fact, but he also knows that he'll be disowned if he came out as transgender to his family. Because of this, Sam has stayed in the closet and continues to present a female, though he took to cutting his hair shorter and dressing more androgynously in college for the sake of staying in good standing with his grandfather. Sam has always been very open about his plan to fully come out and deal with the consequences after he had the money. But today, at 5:30 in the morning, Sam called me and woke me up to tell me that he was considering coming out to his family soon, and that he thought that it was dishonest to continue with the lie for money, but asked for my advice. I was shocked, but honestly told him that I thought that it was a bad idea. I explained that the $2.5 million would allow Sam to finally live his dream life. pay off student debts, get a sex change surgery, maybe get a house, etc. Then I pointed out that Sam would almost certainly be thrown out of the house for doing so. He still lives with his parents for some complicated reasons, and he wouldn't be able to stay with me if that happened because, on top of living in a one-bedroom apartment, I babysit my 6-year-old immunocompromised younger brother twice a week, and I cannot risk cross-contamination from Sam, who is an essential worker. I also wasn't shy about making my opinion that his family wasn't worthy of honesty extremely clear. Anyway, after I was done explaining all of this, Sam just burst into tears before hanging up. I was confused, but it was also only 5:45, so I just rolled over and went back to bed. Later in the morning, I woke up to a bunch of text messages from Sam saying that I was a bad friend, a horrible person, and claiming that I'm homophobic and transphobic. Now, I could not give a damn about a person's sexual orientation or gender identity if you paid me. I am simply a deeply pragmatic person, and Sam knows this, so it really hurt to read these text messages. I didn't respond at first, and decided to talk this over with my mother, who was aware of Sam's situation. Anyway, am I the asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. Your advice, while unpleasant, was sound. It's not even about the inheritance. It's that he's living with horrible, transphobic parents who would disown him if he came out. It's hard to know whether he would be safe if he did come out, or whether he would be homeless or whatnot. He needs to get to a place where he can safely support himself before he comes out. I would sit down with a friend and calmly explain what you said here, and maybe recommend that he finds a therapist that he can bounce things off of, and that you'll help him in any way that you feasibly can. I, as a cis, straight male, have no idea how hard your friend actually has it, but I can sympathize. No assholes here. This situation is incredibly nuanced, and I can understand why Sam reacted the way he did, yet his life will only get harder if he opens up to his nightmarish parents. Given a little bit of time, he will reap the benefits of his patience, and his parents will be a non-issue. No assholes here. Some people aren't worth fighting. Besides, Sam asked for your advice. If he wasn't ready to hear about it, he shouldn't have asked. He probably is in a very stressful situation that he wants to get out of, and you probably gave him a piece of reality that he wasn't ready to face at all. Try to talk to him. After all, you meant no harm. And OP says, I did tell him that, at the very least, he should get a new place to live before doing so. He also got upset when I said that he couldn't live with me. I think that was his assumption, and normally I'd be happy to let him crash on my couch, but given everything going on in the world, it just isn't doable. And now onto the update. Okay, so I want to thank everyone on my original post for their different perspectives, and that everyone was able to be calm and respectful. I'll be the first to admit that, while I have my own issues, I obviously cannot fully relate to Sam's struggles, and I probably could have been nicer about my concerns. In my own defense, he did wake me up at 5:30, so I was pretty dazed and grouchy. I also wanted to elaborate on the money situation, and why Sam and I probably view that $2.5 million very differently. Sam and I come from very different financial backgrounds. I came from a poor, blended household of 6 children and was the second eldest child. We never starved. My extended family, we are all very close, but luxuries were very hard to come by, and there were times that my twin brother and I were both working multiple part-time jobs to keep the lights on, or to replace the water heater when it broke for the second time. I was only able to attend the same private schools as Sam because of merit-based scholarships. I, and my family as a whole, am in a much better position now money-wise, as I work 2 well-paying jobs, one of which is footing the bill for me to get my doctorate degree. But I still have a lot of money-related anxiety. Sam, however, has always been rich, and while his family are all pricks, they never hesitated to spoil him financially. I used to call him a Visa kid, which is like a latchkey kid, but with his father's Visa card, which he was free to use whenever he wanted. Sam never bragged about having vastly more money than I did, but there were definitely times that he was accidentally insensitive about it. He once commented about how run down my house was after seeing where my stepdad had patched up some leaky pipes with neon orange duct tape, for example. Despite this, Sam usually had dinner at my house. My mum's a great cook, about twice a week, oblivious that my parents budgeted for each meal very carefully, and him being there was honestly an inconvenience. They both felt bad for him though, and they never said anything. Currently, Sam has a well-paying job as a hospital lab tech, but has no real savings, and is, in general, terrible with money. He has no idea how to budget because his family has always paid for everything, and the only reason he has student loans is because they refused to pay for some study abroad that Sam wanted to do. When I said that he still lives at home, what I actually meant is that he lives in his parents' guest house completely rent-free. They even buy his groceries for him, so the money that he makes from his job is basically spent on video games, clothes, collectibles, etc. My point is that Sam could definitely afford to live on his own / be financially independent if he wanted to, but I'm genuinely concerned how he would take the downgrading that it would require. Anyway, onto the update. I went home today for our standard Sunday meal, and I talked things over with my mum. She says that it sounds like Sam had already decided to come out and was looking for support and validation instead of advice, but didn't want to outright ask for it. Mum also says that while she agrees with me, she thinks that I could have been gentler and that I should apologize for the sake of the friendship. I, however, was conflicted. I don't believe in false apologies because they are demeaning to everyone involved. I also don't like that Sam went fishing for validation and support instead of just asking for it, because I think that's manipulative. As I said before, I am a very pragmatic individual and think that it would be foolish to give up so much money when you are so close to getting it. Still, I also know how hard it has been for Sam to keep such a big part of himself a secret for so long, so I thought about all the comments left on my original post and what Mum said, and I eventually decided to send Sam an email saying 1. I stand by what I said earlier, and I think the advice I gave was solid, even if it wasn't what he wanted to hear. 2. But I was sorry if what I said hurt him, and that hadn't been my intention at all. 3. That I would of course stand by and support Sam if he made the choice to come out, as it was his choice. 4. But I also thought that he should make sure that he was both physically, emotionally, and financially stable before doing so. 5. I sent him the information for the mental health clinic that I go to, which is offering 3 free Skype sessions with a counselor to help people cope with quarantine, and suggested Sam talk things over with one. 6. I also suggested that he get his important personal documents together, social security card, birth certificate, passport, etc., and put them in a secret safe place. I even offered to hold on to them. And 7. Finally, I said that he should make sure that he has somewhere to live before coming out. I found a couple of cheap, like $500 a month, places on Craigslist for rent, and put the links in. I even promised to pay for the first month's rent if necessary. Then I sent the email on out and went to help cook dinner. About an hour later, Sam called, but my hands were covered in flour and eggs. So I asked my sister, 16 female, to answer my phone and put it on speaker, believing falsely that we were about to have a calm adult situation. Sam blew up. For about 30 minutes, Sam just yelled about how 1. There were more accusations of being homophobic and transphobic, 2. Accused me of calling him crazy, 3. Called me a robot. This one hurt the most, silly as it sounds, because I'm on the autism spectrum and have a hard time with understanding expressions and emotions in general, which I'm very sensitive about. And 4, said he would never move into any of the apartments I suggested because they were trashy, and wondered why he couldn't just stay with me. I tried to explain about my little brother again, only to be told, and I quote, "Why are you so worried about that brat? He isn't your kid. Just forget about him right now." Then Sam hung up again, and it was my sis's turn to blow. My sister is bisexual and has never really liked Sam, though I never knew why until now. Sis was angry that Sam would say those things when I and our family have done nothing but support him. She said that throughout our years of friendship, it has always been me supporting Sam and never the other way around despite having my own issues. I tried to argue, but Sis reminded me that after I had extensive eye surgery in high school to hopefully prevent me from going blind before 30, Sam couldn't even be bothered to drop off my schoolwork or drive me to a checkup when no one else was available. She compared that to when I had to leave an important work dinner to pick up a drunk Sam from a gay bar, or when Sam got angry when I decided my older brother's wedding was more important than going to an LGBT+ event on our college campus with him. Honestly, Sis has given me a lot to think about. Sam is an important friend to me, and I obviously want the best for him and am hoping this is all just stress from the current global situation boiling over or something. But Sis is right in that Sam has spent years expecting to be my number one priority and using me as an emotional crutch. I'm going to give things a few days and see how they turn out. Any thoughts would be greatly appreciated. In the comments, personally, I think your sister is right. That really does not sound healthy, and it sounds like Sam has a lot of the things that he needs to work through and learn. I've had friends who have been in similar places where it was necessary for us to cut ties, and when I've done so, I've always made it clear that if things change, I'm happy to try again. I don't think Sam is going to change for a while though, so wish him the best and tell him good luck. Sam sounds entitled, and when his family drops him on his ass, it'll be one hell of a rude awakening. I feel for his struggles though. I could never personally understand it, but he doesn't sound like a good friend. Friendships are a 50-50 effort. It's exhausting to be the person who drops everything to support and cherish someone who doesn't give you that same energy back when it counts. Don't contact him again, and don't apologize. Don't let the rose-colored glasses slip back on your face. Sam owes you an apology, and he needs to figure crap out on his own since he clearly isn't wanting any help. And now 2 years later, here's a follow-up post. Am I the asshole for telling a former friend that he was particularly responsible for his own bad life situation and I didn't feel bad for him? So a few years ago, I, 25 female, posted a story about my former friend, Sam. Sam had the misfortune to be born into an incredibly bigoted but rich family, and Sam stood to inherit a lot of money from his grandfather. Understandably, both of these things factored into Sam's decision not to come out to his family, at least not until his grandpa died and he got his inheritance. That was until 2 years ago when he called me very early in the morning to say that he'd been thinking about coming out to his parents, and asked what I thought. I told him that it was a bad idea due to a combination of him definitely getting written out of the will, getting kicked out of his parents' house and cut off altogether, money, healthcare, etc., not having any savings, and not having another place to stay. Well, Sam didn't like that. He accused me of being transphobic and a bad friend, amongst other things. A few more blow-ups later, which, along with my little sister, helped me realize that my friendship with Sam was unhealthily one-sided. It led to me making the difficult decision to cut Sam out of my life. I sent him one final email saying that I was sorry about the fight, that I wished him well in whatever he chose to do, but that I also felt that neither of us was getting much good out of our relationship. Then I blocked him, and I forced myself to push Sam out of my mind. It was hard. I worried about Sam a lot, but was able to move out of my life. I spent these last 2 years working on myself, and it paid off. I climbed the ladder closer to my dream job, am in the best shape of my life, and most importantly, met my wonderful fiancé. Eventually, I managed to mostly forget about Sam. That brings us to yesterday. I was running errands when I stopped for coffee. When I was waiting for my drink, I heard someone call my name. It was Sam, and he looked rough, to the point that I didn't even recognize him at first. Anyway, Sam decided to join me. I awkwardly asked him how he'd been, and Sam launched into this long rant about how hard his life became after he came out to his parents. He got kicked out and cut off by his family, and since he didn't have enough savings to rent anywhere, Sam ended up having to couch surf for the past 2 years, losing a lot of friends when they got tired of him. Sam apparently got so depressed about everything that he stopped going to work and was finally fired about 6 months ago. When he finally was done, I honestly told Sam that I was sorry for everything he went through. He asked me if that was it, and another blow-up happened. Sam accused me of abandoning him when he needed my help. I said I did offer him help back then, but it just wasn't help that Sam liked. Then I told Sam that everything that happened to him was something that I warned him about, and that I didn't feel much sympathy for him because of that. He knew the risks, still came out, so he couldn't gripe about the consequences. I left after that, and everyone who knows what happened is split on my response. So, am I the asshole? OP offers the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I could be the asshole because I might have sounded like I think Sam deserved what happened to him or that I agree with his family's actions. In the comments, not the asshole. You didn't cause any of that to happen to Sam. He asked for your opinion and you provided it. He blew up. Then he seems to have cornered you looking for an apology from you and once again blew up when you didn't again provide his desired response. Exactly. I wonder how much of Sam's claim of being abandoned had to do with the fact that it was one less couch that he could surf. Not the asshole. Just because someone treats you badly doesn't give you the right to treat others the same way. If he wants to blame someone for his bad luck, then he should be blaming his family. You told him what you could see going wrong, he didn't like it, and now he's mad at you because you were right. Sounds like you did the right thing cutting him off. You didn't approach him, he approached you and started the problems. Not just that he was blaming OP, but then when she expresses sympathy for all that has happened, he blows up at her for not being there after he first blew up at her. Nobody needs a person in their life who, when asked for advice, gets mad at the advice with rage and insults. OP did the right thing by cutting Sam out of her life if this is how he responds to anyone doing or saying anything other than exactly what he wants. Not the asshole. Sam also sounds like a big user. How does one couch surf for 2 years with a well-paying job and make no attempt to save for a deposit? Big user. OP, I know that was hard, but good for you. You did the right thing and Sam has no one to blame except himself. Whatever shreds of sympathy I had for Sam evaporated when he called OP's little brother a brat and told her not to care for him. OP's in a better place without toxic people like Sam in her life. Sam wants OP to care for him like a child instead. What a vampire. Well, even vampires are less demanding. They at least prefer it if their prey invites them in on their own accord before sucking them dry. If you're lucky, you get to be the consort to a hot vampire and cool powers, or a ghoul which have their own superpowers and they get to get high. What is Sam offering? The amount of time my girlfriend has spent sleeping has made me stop loving her. So I sound awful, but you have no idea. She always has slept more than me. That's fine. Lately, it's been just too much. She falls asleep at, say, 10 p.m. and then wakes up after 12 p.m., some days even after 2 p.m. Then she takes a nap like 2 hours later for somewhere between 3 to 6 hours. I think my final straw was yesterday. She woke up at 9, then took a 6-hour nap at 11. Then after waking up at 5-ish, cleaned for an hour, then took a 5-hour nap after that. She spent 11 hours of her daytime sleeping. I'll get hate for this as well, but it's affected our sex life. Every time I'm in the mood, she falls asleep. I don't mean she says like, not tonight, and falls asleep. I mean she just falls asleep. One time it was the afternoon that we both had off and I suggested it. She was excited, went to bed, and I went to freshen up a bit. I came back like 3 minutes later and she was passed out. I get that I'm not owed sex, but I'm having a dry spell because she just sleeps. I keep telling her that this isn't normal and she needs to see a doctor, but she refuses. She says I'm controlling because I can't have her all the time. She seems to think that it's normal for people to sleep 20 hours a day. I just stopped caring now. I can't leave her, but she makes me feel ignored in bed. And edit, a few people have hearkened on the sex life I mentioned. No, it's not my only concern. It was the most reoccurring pattern. We've had dry spells, some for 2 months, and there is no issue. She could say no and I'd be fine. The difference is her saying no versus saying she wants to and then falling asleep within 3 minutes every time. There is other issues as well, like she'll forget to feed the cat, do the dishes on her day, and has me cook almost everything. The difference is that those can be on and off, where some days she does and others she doesn't. And now in the comments, this is not normal and she should go see a doctor. Yes, she needs to start with a thyroid-stimulating hormone check. I slept all the time and it turned out that I had thyroid cancer. She could also have hypothyroidism, which would definitely make her tired all the time. It could be a lot of things, but she needs to have some blood work done to find the cause of this. How old are you two? And what else, if anything, is she doing besides sleeping? School, work, etc. How long has this sleeping more than awake pattern persisted? This sounds like a medical problem. Clinical depression looks like this. Chemical or hormone imbalances can cause excessive fatigue. Other medical problems can present like this. She needs competent medical care. This is impacting her participating in every other area of her life. It's not okay to just let it stay like this and pretend it's okay for you to live with a partner who is unconscious 5/6 of each day. And now onto the update. Hi everyone. Even those hearing it on TikTok with gameplay in the background. I didn't expect it to blow up, but it did. I wanted to clarify some things first. We are both 28, I work full-time, she had a full-time job, but she quit it 2 months ago. Since then, she had been looking for work, but sleep issues started 2 weeks ago. The biggest mistake was mentioning our sex life, as people took it to mean that I cared more about sex than her. It was the easiest thing to show how my frustration had built up. Obviously, I care about her health too. I said before that we've gone for months without sex, and I've had no problems. And even if we had sex, I would still be concerned. But I get how it comes off, and that was my mistake. As for the people calling me an asshole because I didn't take her to the doctor, what was I supposed to do? She's an adult and I can't make her go somewhere. Plus, after she called me controlling, I couldn't continue pushing since I was reminded of my ex who was. A lot said that I didn't care or was selfish. I was frustrated over what I was seeing and I wanted my old girlfriend back. I wanted her to be better. You can say that makes me a horrible person if you wish. So, I took some of your advice and first told her parents. They can't make her do anything, but they know now. I gave her an ultimatum. Get help or I leave. I made it clear that I will not sit around as she sleeps all day. It's not normal and she needs help. I said that I'll help in any way that I can. Long story short, we broke up. She got mad, saying she was just more tired and it'll be fine. In that moment, I knew I didn't love her anymore. How can I love someone who says I'm concerned and call me a manipulative asshole? It was her apartment, so I left. I called her parents again to let them know and take her cat since I could not. I know I'll get hate, but I don't know what else to do. She refused my help and I can't help someone who doesn't want it. I had to move in with my parents again. I feel like a failure. A 28-year-old man stuck with mummy and daddy, all because he was too weak to make it work. I don't know if it's the right feeling, but it's how I feel. Hate me all you want, I just don't care anymore. And now in the comments, so for disclosure, I'm a fossil, so old enough to be your grandma, and that means I've been around the block more than once. Your ex is a legally grown woman, so at least in the US, for the most part, unless she's a danger to herself or to others, no one can force her to get evaluated. Sadly, she will have to figure this out or become sick enough where her parents or legal folk can force her to get treatment. You are a normal person like the rest of us and have done as much as you can without her cooperation. You were concerned and kind enough to let her parents know and to ideally get them to take care of the cat. You were neither weak nor a failure. You were dealing with the reality of the situation, and in time, you will get back out on your own. Please take a bit to heal yourself, as you were also impacted by this situation. The 3 times in life I slept that much were depression, brain tumor, and severe anemia. I hope his ex does get evaluated one day. Excessive sleep can oftentimes be the only visible symptom. I used to get defensive too because I couldn't identify any other symptom. I felt guilty that my body was lazy and I looked healthy on the outside. Adding narcolepsy to the list as well. Without medication, my body will naturally sleep for 16 to 20 hours a day. The falling asleep within 3 minutes is also common for narcolepsy. Rapid sleep onset is one of the things they check during the diagnostic sleep study. It's extra fun when I'm also depressed and anemic at the same time too. I basically feel like I'm in a coma. I was a sleep tech for years, and this sounds like a textbook definition of onset narcolepsy. People think narcolepsy is just randomly falling asleep, but it's also sleeping for hours and hours and hours. In my narcolepsy sleep studies, patients would fall asleep during setup, sleep upwards of 11 hours, and still get upset when I woke them up, and sometimes be physically unable to stay awake during the waking portion of the follow-up test. It's also not unusual to develop and start showing symptoms of narcolepsy in your late 20s. Our next post is titled, "Meeting with CEO has crushed me." I work for a company in Germany. I am new to this company, 4 months there, and also alone in my whole department. I am building it up. Last month we have acquired a new company, a French company, so we have a culture difference here. I was told that I'd also need to work for that company. I do speak French, not perfectly, but well enough to talk and joke around. So the French CEO was visiting our office this week, and today he requested a meeting with me. The meeting was horrible. Basically, it was just him taking our work culture and me apart, all while smiling at me the whole time. We have home office, which is unreliable. We have flexible working hours, which makes no sense. I have no rules and no KPI, which is chaotic. However, at our company, everything runs smoothly, and honestly, I'm successful at my job, which is the feedback I got. He talked to me the whole time as if I was 12 years old. I'm 32. And then at the end, he asked me if I have any experience whatsoever. I have 4 years experience. And the last thing he says, while smiling, "This meeting has shown me that I clearly need to speak to your CEO." It honestly felt so condescending. I am a very fragile person. I doubt myself a lot. I am my own worst critic. This has crushed me. I can't switch off his voice in my head. I feel worthless. Why did he smile the whole time? Why did he treat me like a child? Why do I let it make me go crazy when I normally get good feedback? I should be able to trust myself and my performance, no? Also, the whole meeting was in French. I do understand almost everything, but why not speak a language that is foreign to the both of us? English, instead of making only me uncomfortable. He used difficult expressions and then asked me, "Do you understand?" several times. During our first meeting ever, I had asked several times if we could switch to English, and he just said, "But you know French. That way you will learn." So I felt too shy to ask again. But to me, this is such an odd way of thinking. It feels like his way of gaining more power. Now in the comments, I'm sorry this happened to you. It might be nothing more than an awful tactic to establish himself as an alpha top dog by belittling his employees. But you've got experience under your belt, so quietly start applying for jobs in places that appreciate your talent. I'm French, and everything you describe looks so much like the French work mentality. Fortunately, I've been able to escape it by working remotely for a foreign company. Good luck. Meeting with CEO has crushed me. Well, that was the intention, to crush you and make you feel small. The smiling was a part of it. Like the evil queen in a fairy tale smiles because she is cheerfully crushing someone under her power. He may not like women, he may not like Germans, he may just be a terrible person, and he's probably going to be terrible to your CEO next. Your response was natural. I am very sorry that you had to deal with such an awful person. And now on to the update. The conversation with the French CEO had really crushed me. I was crying a lot, and then 2 months after I was in a meeting, and I reacted apparently weird to a specific task I was given related to the French company. Immediately, our CTO came to me after the meeting and asked me why I reacted the way I did. I basically just said, should I confirm that with the French CEO before doing that? Anyway, the CTO ended up pressuring me into telling him what happened. I had a tear rolling down my face because of the pressure. He was shocked and asked me in an ideal world what I wanted to make this better. I just said, I personally don't want to work directly with him. CTO said, done. 2 weeks later, I get told that French CEO had been taken away decision power over my department. He is no longer involved. Fast forward to last month, and my company's CEO came to me at the end of a workday. It was only him and I, and he told me that he had heard about how the French CEO had treated me back in February. He hugged me and said that no one is allowed to treat me this way. Then he said that they have decided to find an agreement to part ways with the French CEO. They are still in discussions, but he wanted to tell me already because of what had happened. He confirmed that I do a wonderful job, exceed expectations, and that if ever someone talks to me the way that that guy did, to go straight to him directly to have this sorted out. As you can imagine, I am super happy at my current company. Now in the comments, oh, this is such a wonderful conclusion. The French dude was obviously the perfect storm of incompetent C-suite executive who is an ass since he hates his home life, and asshole Parisian who thinks that people who can't speak French have lobotomies. I've met quite a few of the latter, and they were always surprised they couldn't keep friends in America. Maybe it's because you're an elitist asswipe, Pierre. Note, I've met plenty of fine Frenchmen too. Sounds like your new CEO took a pissing contest with the wrong person. It's great that OP's boss had their back, and the fallout was on the new CEO, not on OP. Unfortunately, it looked like it worked initially. The OP was not able to assert themselves at the time, and it had to be pulled out of them 8 months later. It worked out in the end, but I also would hope that the management is not just dealing with this one guy, but maybe thinking about how to create a culture that prevents these problems and makes it welcoming for their employees to bring up these problems. I do want to mention that this could be an isolated incident due to OP's nature. By her own admission, she's hypercritical of herself and unlikely to stand up for herself. She seems very non-confrontational, and even in a supportive environment, she might have kept things to herself to avoid making problems. And I was having a discussion at lunch about how bad our management culture is here in France, and how it could evolve, or not. We have a horrible problem with that. From my experience, a lot of our managers were never trained to manage people. There are sometimes techs who went up the ladder, and management is often seen as the only evolution possibility, but they were never trained to delegate, assess team problems, and so on. There are also people who are in it for the power and don't care about anything else. We still have a lot of companies or administrations where people think that soft skills are something you learn along the way or that you're supposed to have anyway. I've seen and lived through pretty depressing things. We have a huge problem with management in the United States as well. It seems that the human resource, or the supervising portion of their job, is considered to them to be extra work and a bother to what they consider to be the real work, i.e. the tech stuff. What they don't seem to understand is that they get paid more because they're expected to be actual supervisors and managers helping their subordinates. I can't tell you the number of times in training classes that I've held where the supervisor or the management asks, how am I supposed to get my actual work done if I have to deal with these employment issues? And then are in shock when I remind them that this is actual work too. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for stealing my friend's wedding decorations? I, 22 female, met Leia, 23 female, about 10 years ago at school. We were friends ever since. We spent a lot of time together, mostly in our friends group. Last year, she got engaged to her now fiancé Steve, 25 male, and started planning for their wedding right after. So she asked me to help her with her decorations. We talked about different options, and I spent hours and hours to make all her wishes come true. All of the things are handmade. Some days ago, our friend group and some of her other friends that helped with her wedding came together to talk about the upcoming wedding. As we started discussing our outfits, Leah started laughing, saying that I don't need to worry about my dress since I am not invited. I thought that it was a joke, but later she came to my house and asked me how I thought I was invited since I didn't get an invitation. I explained that because she said she is on a budget and I helped her in crafting the invitations and the decorations for the whole wedding, I considered myself as being invited, as all of our friends did too, that are in fact invited. She never told me that I wasn't before, and that day was not the first time that I talked about my dress because she is very specific on the dress code that she wants. Now that everything was prepared and ready, she tells me that I'm not going to be at her wedding because, quote, she feels we are not as close as we used to be, and she doesn't feel like spending money on me because she has to pay per guest. When I told my friend Sarah about everything, we planned on getting the decorations that I made back. So today we went to the location, took everything back, and told Leia nothing about it. The wedding is tomorrow. Now I kinda feel bad for doing this, but I'm really hurt and upset by her behavior. She doesn't want to pay for me to be in her wedding, but was okay with me spending hundreds of hours on her? So part of me feels guilty, but on the other side, I don't want to be treated like that. So, am I the asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. Normally I'm not a huge fan of being petty, but she used you for free labor and dumped you on purpose. Figure out what you would charge for that labor and tell her she's only getting it back if she pays for it. Since you aren't that close, this is a business transaction. Edit, seeing some good notes in my replies. Make her pay up front and in some format she cannot take back. Cash, money order, or a check that you cash before handing them over. Don't give her an opportunity to do a chargeback on PayPal, Cash App, etc. Not the asshole OP. If she asks you about it, say, I made a wedding gift. I'm no longer invited to that wedding, so I don't have to bring a gift. That's my choice, just like it was your choice to use me for free labor and have me pay for everything, only to tell me at the last minute that I wasn't invited to your wedding. Part of the reason I would do this is because if she calls the police or anything, you'll have documentation that you made everything, paid for it, and it was intended as a wedding gift. OP says, so far Leah is blowing up my phone because one of my friends told Steve, her fiancé, about what she did, and he's upset too and told her to find a solution to get a seat for me. Well, Steve seems to be a nice guy, and I feel really sorry for him. I don't know him that well, but he was always kind to everyone. It's not just her wedding, but also his. Still, Sarah and I are the only ones to know that the decorations are gone. Well, don't feel sorry for him. You just stepped on a rake hidden in the leaves, and attached to it was a giant red flag that he wouldn't have found until he was deep in the forest alone. OP says, to answer some questions, I'll be definitely not attending the wedding. I actually got all the bills from what I bought for the decorations because I wanted to keep track on how much I spent. I am now at my friend's place because I do think there is a possibility that Leah will show up at mine as soon as she will find out, and I don't know yet how I will move on regarding the decorations. So, little update. None of my friends knew that I was not invited and are upset too. 3 of them tried to talk to Leah, and now she's angry with me for causing trouble the night before the wedding. Also, 2 of them who are also bridesmaids plan on not showing up. I don't know what to think about it. Leah still has no clue the decorations are gone. Another update. Probably the last one for now because I can't deal with this at the moment. Leah's friend wrote me because I blocked Leah. As it seems Steve and Leah got in a huge fight because of this whole issue. Also, Steve messaged me to apologize for Leah and offered to pay for me since I don't want to attend the wedding and her behavior was trash. Plus, Leah did not just use me for free stuff, also other people. A friend who was originally invited made some of her accessories, but got a call yesterday that she is not invited anymore, after she got everything from her. I just got to know about this an hour ago, and at this point, I don't even know if any one of her friends is showing up because everyone is so angry. We have a friend group chat and almost everyone has a story of Leah using us. And now on to the update. So here is the update that you were waiting for after the original post is gone. Yesterday, Steve called me to ask in detail what happened, and we talked for a short while. Also, I told him the story about the accessories. He was shocked to say the least, and the last thing that he said was that he needs to think about everything. Today, Leah checked on the location to find it empty, and she blew up my phone to call me names. She's insane, demanding me to refund her for the stress and drama that I caused. Her whole family is after me. As far as I know, now the wedding is cancelled, as Steve was not showing up checking on the location even though it was promised. But well, the cancellation is not official yet, as there is still some time to the wedding. But Sarah and I are trying to find out at the moment. Are you ready for another update? To get started somewhere, Leah's wedding was never really on a budget. Steve's family is kind of wealthy and paid for most of the expenses. She probably wanted to keep the money that she saved for herself because she lied a lot about where she got all those things the friends made from and how much she actually paid. Also, shortly before the wedding was about to start, one friend sent us a recording in which Leah reveals she was planning on using us and how dumb we all are. She said that we're all poor students with debt, and she made the great move to marry into Steve's family, who always helped her with everything, including her expenses on university stuff. Actually, some of us actually showed up and witnessed Leah throwing a tantrum. As Leah was already at the location, Steve didn't show up on time, and some people received a text that everyone should take their presents back because he's not coming to marry her. I'll go into more detail later. Someone says, please, please, please don't show up, Steve. And OP says, the wedding was cancelled. Well, this is the best update ever. Please make friends with Steve. He sounds amazing and truly supportive. He needs to replace her in your friend group. So, if I understand this right, Leah was basically stealing from her future husband? She got a bunch of friends to do handmade stuff for the wedding, she presumably pretended to pay for it, and then didn't invite any of them in the hope that this way that it would not be revealed that it wasn't bought. Leah sounds like a special kind of dumb, honestly. How did she think that it wouldn't get out? Or was the hope here just to have it only get out after the marriage was over? I'm glad that you wrote this summary because I was really trying to figure out why Leah would not invite people, but now it makes sense. I mean, it still doesn't make any sense. Why on earth would you not invite people to the wedding that you're not paying for? Was she afraid they'd mention the work they did? I mean, hell, it wouldn't have been hard to say, of course I paid my friends for the work they did. Just because they're my friends doesn't mean I expect free work. I found out that my girlfriend was a sugar baby, and now she's pretending like it was nothing. We dated for like 3 years, and I'm planning on proposing to her during Christmas, but yesterday after a party, something about her past came out, and I asked her after the party if that's true that she was a sugar baby before dating me, and she just said yeah, and continued looking at her phone like it was nothing. But actually, I'm hurt, and my reply was, oh. She didn't even ask me if I was okay, or acknowledge my feelings. I don't know what else to say, but I feel really disgusted. I don't know what to do next. I really wish she told me before we were dating. Now in the comments, if it's a deal breaker for you, you don't really need to justify yourself to anyone else here, but only you can make that call, and really try to suss out for yourself whether you can truly get over this, or if you will inadvertently and subconsciously spend the remainder of the relationship punishing her for something that she can't undo. Yeah, before talking to her, he's got to figure out if no matter what, that's a hard pass for him. If it is, and I understand why, it's effectively sex work, which isn't for everyone. Then he shouldn't even talk to her because obviously questioning her about it and then dumping her will be clearly shaming her. There isn't anything wrong with the choices she made, but no one has to date you. If he thinks the details matter, then delicately talk to her about it. I suggest you take some time and calm down. Put the proposal on hold and just think. If this really is a deal breaker, then you know what to do. Info. Did she know that sex work was a deal breaker for you? Or did it just never get mentioned, and that is why she is so nonchalant about it? OP replies, thanks man, I really need to take some time and calm down. Reading most of these advices are really not helping. I got attacked so much. We never talked about the sex work thing before, as this is the first time. Someone replies, there is such a thing as sugar babies who do not engage in sexual activity. Are you sure that it was sexual? Personally, this would make the difference to me, but I also think that it's fair if he were to draw the line elsewhere. I just don't understand why it matters at all if it was before they got together and she hasn't done it since. The replies here are whack in both directions. Basically, 1. It is your right to feel some type of way about this. No shame in being a sex worker, but she should also know that it's something that people do have personal boundaries and feelings about, and she should have been open with you from way earlier. And 2, I would take some time to think through it personally and decide whether it's a deal breaker for you or if you might be able to move past it. Then you could try to talk to her and understand her perspective. Your feelings may depend on the exact circumstances, reasons, nature of the relationships, etc. Fundamentally, it's not wrong for you to have your own feelings about this. Don't shame her for her choices when you talk to her, but it's also okay for you to decide that it's not something you can be comfortable with and you need to walk away. And now, onto the update. I was planning to be mature and ask her more about it, but before I could do that, she already made the first move. She asked me if everything is okay since that night because she can sense something is really off, and I explained everything. I don't want to go further, but my curiosity is dying to know more, and she told me the truth because she couldn't lie to someone she really loved. She told me how many sugar daddies she had, and yes, she slept with all of them, but it wasn't wonderful. She needed the money so bad, and that's why she did such things. After we dated, she stopped doing those and focused more on her relationship with me and already has enough money for tuition fees, etc. She cried and told me that she never brought this up because she thought that I would leave her, and she already knew that this day would come, but she just couldn't lie to me. We cuddled and made love that night. I understand that we all lived through the lowest points of our lives. I myself have been through that. At the moment, I'm still undecided what to do, but leaving her would be the last thing to do right now, and maybe checking myself into therapy. I love her to death. She's helped me throughout my depression, anxiety, and many mental health issues, and it would be shitty leaving her due to my insecurity. At the same time, postponing my marriage proposal till I fix my insecurity, and she is willing to stand by my side. I believe this is just another phase or challenge in our relationship. We will get through this together. I love you, N. Now in the comments, as a person who has dated sugar babies, sex workers, strippers, cam girls, what have you have the right to not date a person in that lifestyle. You do not have the right to abuse them, shame them, look down on them, talk bad about them. But if you do not want to date a person in the lifestyle, or who used to be, that's understandable. No, they are not more likely to cheat on you. If they're being safe, they are no more likely to have an STI than any other person who does not practice safe sex. They are people, and it's a job. But with that said, if you don't want to date a race car driver because you worry about their safety, that's okay. If you don't want to date a butcher because it goes against the beliefs that you may have, that's okay. If you don't want to date a person who makes more than you or is accustomed to a lifestyle that you don't feel able to give them, that is okay. You can choose who you want to be with and not be with, as long as you are not demeaning, dehumanizing, abusing, or committing any other negative actions towards that person. This is why honesty is always important. It allows for both parties to have the right to make an informed choice about how to proceed. I completely agree with this. My concern is that she knew that he wouldn't like it and would likely break up, so she decided to hide it. Basically wait until they're in love and inseparable, and then let it come out, because she said she knew that it was eventually going to come out. It's understandable to not let all the dirty secrets out on the first date, but how long should you wait to let them know about a dark past? Pretty deceptive of her in my opinion, and sadly it happens often because we often go with the flow and just let time fly by. I think it's understandable to be with someone who has the same view on sex as you. I also think it's understandable and the right call to postpone getting even more serious when you've hit such a major roadblock in your relationship. It seems like he's not planning to leave her, but to work through this, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for making love to her. If he was undecided, I would say that is messed up. Our next post is titled, "Screw you, Alan." Warning, this is long and contains language. I don't usually use this much language, but Alan is a terrible human being. There isn't a classy way to express my distaste for him. I apologize if I offend you. F you, Alan. Hard. Working with you these past 7 years has been terrible. You are a terrible co-worker, and the entire organization thinks so. Do you know how hard it is to induce the scorn of nearly 300 employees? Pretty freaking hard, but you did it. What exactly is it that you do? I know that you lurk around our office like you think you're important, drifting into conversations like you have business there. You don't. We will let you know when something pertains to you, I promise. You float into meetings you aren't invited to, and you steal the extra lunches. F you for that. I take those extra lunches downstairs to the interns, who can use all the help they can get since they are working for free, and Will, whose entire paycheck, nearly, goes to pay for medical treatment for his disabled child. F you for taking their lunches when you make triple their salaries. What in the hell are you even doing at the meetings? You've been told repeatedly that you want to invite yourself to them, but you still do. Our CEO is a man who loves to hand out second chances to you because you did that one spectacular thing 7 years ago when you first started. Oh my god, you totally brought us a supporter. I will admit that it was much needed, but when he turned his back on our organization 4 years ago because of you, you should have been fired. Now our non-profit is barely scraping by because you were too lazy to go out and do your actual job. You have one job, Alan. One frickin' job. How dare you go into my work office and log onto my computer when I wasn't there? You don't think I know? I do. F you. You don't even work in my building. You work in the office across town. Why in the hell are you even over here? You didn't think that I would report you to HR, did you? I did. They were appalled. It is part of the reason that you're under review now. I recently got a lock installed on my office door. Good luck getting in now. What the hell were you looking for anyway? And also, F you for calling me repeatedly while I was on maternity leave for things that weren't emergencies. Debbie was effing handling my stuff while I was out. You got the effing email I sent out regarding it because you replied to it. I don't even deal with anything you would need to contact me about anyway. Do you have a copy of the report from last year? You said in one voicemail I received shortly after giving birth. No, I don't effing have a copy of the report from last year because I don't handle the reports. I don't effing handle the reports. You aren't new, you know this. The second and third calls, I was still in hospital, about how the break room was out of paper towels, was just effing mean. Coming back after maternity leave to 200-something emails from you was wonderful. I didn't answer them because you don't need that information. It isn't even your job to know that information. F you, Alan. F you and how you take Carrie's parking spot when you visit our location, even though you know she has to park there because of her recent surgery. She has effing cancer, Alan. Also, how dare you come to my baby work shower? That was after effing hours, and eat the majority of my awesome cake. That was my cake. No one invited you. How do you even find out about it? You don't even work in our office. Did you just decide to stay until about 7 p.m. one day at the office you don't work at for some reason? You just stumbled into my closed office with that stupid look on your face and said, look, cake. F you, Alan. I was pregnant and I was going to eat that cake. I said one piece, Alan, not the whole rest of the cake. You really hurt Noah's feelings when you made fun of the way that he speaks. He has an effing speech impediment, you asshole. Not to mention you work for an effing non-profit whose job it is to help people like Noah. Tomorrow, you have a review with the board and the CEO to determine whether the department that you run is up to standards. I hope that you fail. It sickens me to think that because the jobs of the individuals with disabilities who work at your location depend on your success. But I can't help but delight in the fact that you are failing. I will dance, Alan. I will dance and I will celebrate with cake. My cake, not yours, quietly and alone. When they pull your expense records and find that you are mismanaging funds and finally fire you. F you, Alan. You are the only thing that I hate about my job. In the comments, he sounds like a truly horrible human being, and I'm so sorry that you have to deal with such an asshat. Your job sounds wonderful regardless. Working for a non-profit sounds like a fantastic place to work. I hope he gets fired too. All of Reddit will dance. I mean, I don't know you personally, Alan, but if I met you, I'd take great, relishing pleasure in wrapping my fingers around your jerk neck and strangling you, stopping every so often to forcibly feed you cake until your stomach teeters on the brink of bursting. Then I'd continue throttling you while maintaining eye contact and probably laughing until your final breath, whereupon I'd slap you in the face with a pink slip and whisper, "Screw you, Alan." Back up to the post, we have an edit. Thanks for the words of support and the sympathy anger, everybody. You are too wonderful. It is 8:04, my time, Central, and Alan just arrived for the meeting. My office is usually pretty quiet this early in the morning, but everyone is buzzing around conversating about what is about to go down in that conference room. I will do an update post when I have the news. Again, thank you so much for all of your comments. And now, on to the update. Bye-bye, Alan. Sorry it took so long to update, but I had work and things. For those of you who are interested, Alan is no longer employed. I don't really know a ton of details, but we received an email from Human Resources around 11 a.m. stating that Alan had moved on from our organization and that all his tasks would now be handled by this other person. The office was elated. I danced quietly and quickly in my office. High fives and fist bumps were given and received by all. There is even talk of a celebratory happy hour get-together after work. I cannot go to this because it is my shift with my 5-month-old. The hubs and I switch off so that we have times during the evening to relax and run errands, but I will be celebrating at my house with a homemade mini cupcake and whatever alcoholic beverage in my husband's man fridge will go with that cupcake. Maybe a nice German wheat beer? I don't know, but I'm taking suggestions on that. Thanks for all the comments and for reading both my posts. The show of support was outstanding. The advice was much appreciated. Tomorrow is going to be a good day. In the comments, a big F you to all the Allens in the world who take the little pieces of joy from work and crap all over them. Work sucks, Alan. Free lunch and cake is the only thing keeping us from losing our frickin' minds. File your own TPS report. I still remember when I was a tour guide at Parliament and the regular drop-off spot for extra lunches was the guide staff room. Sometimes they would even show up with freezers full of popsicles. I swear you could have poisoned the food and killed the whole batch of guides, and if you showed up the next day with another free lunch, you could poison the entire next batch of us. Free food at work is always a delight. I realize this is a huge segue, but if I have to deal with useless thoughts, so do you. Let's not just, correctly and joyfully, pile on Alan. A hearty F you to everyone who could have, should have, put a stop to him long before. This would include the CEO and the HR department. If he's been mismanaging his expense funds, it should have been caught before Alan got reported for logging onto OP's computer. Co-workers like Alan only remained employed because the people above them can't and won't do their job and get rid of toxic assholes like Alan. I wonder, what if Alan knew that he was about to be investigated and logged onto OP's computer to make it look like she had changed his expense reports to try and frame him? Unlikely, yeah. The Allens of the world are rarely known for their computer smarts, but still. Our next post is titled, "Made a terrible mistake and I may lose everything. Co-worker suing me." I'm using an anonymous account to protect myself. I'm in the medical field and I got close to another co-worker who is not in the same field, but also a medical professional below me. We went out for drinks as a group and I thought that we hit it off. Went home with her and we had sex. She immediately regretted it and left. Her excuse was, "You don't crap where you eat." I saw her at work. We spoke a little bit, and she said, that can never happen again, and we should stop contacting each other. Later I found out that she had a boyfriend. This made me very angry. I did something stupid and said along the lines of, "If you won't sleep with me again or cut off contact, I'm telling your guy." It was a joke. I also have to say that I was texting her more than she was replying. I sent her photos of myself and she said that I crossed the line, but I read it in a sort of joking way. Sent other pics and there was no reply for days. I went to her floor and she was not there, so I tried calling and texting her multiple times with no answer. I finally get a message from her saying she's going to HR and will be speaking to a lawyer, accusing me of threats and harassment. I thought she was joking, but I got a call from someone saying that they are her lawyer. I have worked so hard to get to where I am. I am an international employee on a working visa and have been to this country for a few years. I'm scared and am trying to figure out what to do. Please help me. How can I better approach this? Now in the comments, so blackmail and/or quid pro quo. Then she asked you to stop and you didn't. You're going to get fired, almost a guarantee. You should not ever attempt to think about contacting or speaking with this person ever again. You should hire an attorney. OP replies, I will do anything not to lose my job. I have 1 year left of my program to practice. I made a stupid, terrible mistake. What I thought was a joke, now I see is serious. I'm going to look for a lawyer now. Okay, let's abandon the completely ludicrous idea that you thought all of this was a joke. You didn't just make a mistake, you made a series of very bad mistakes that range from sexual harassment to blackmail. Those aren't mistakes. Those were deliberate actions on your part to try to coerce a sexual relationship with someone who repeatedly told you to stop. This isn't a cultural issue or American law issue. You just didn't give a crap that she didn't want to have sex with you anymore, and you tried to coerce her into sex. You are lucky if all you lose is your job, and frankly, you deserve to. After you are fired, get a lawyer to help you deal with your employment visa. If you're arrested for sexual harassment or blackmail, ask for a lawyer, and don't speak to the cops at all. Quote, this made me very angry. Did something stupid and said along the lines of, if you won't sleep with me again or cut off contact, I'm telling your guy. Based on this statement, this is blackmail. No one would think that this was a joke. I would highly consider talking to an attorney and print out all of the text messages and give it to the attorney. Stop all contact, and yes, as others have said, expect to be suspended immediately and soon fired upon a review. OP replies, you're right. I have gotten all the advice I need. Thanks everyone. I will go and look for a lawyer. Literally every part of everything you did is sexual harassment. OP replies, if you say that, then I have a lot to learn. I'm unfamiliar with the American law system, so I didn't think what I was doing or writing was sexual harassment. Now I know. And now on to the update. So I want to take this opportunity to apologize to anyone I may have offended by my post last week. I read every comment, I was too shocked and embarrassed by my ignorance to reply, and I get it. I was very wrong, although I don't think I deserved the death threats in my messages. When I got a letter from her attorney, I wrote back apologizing for the disrespect and my rude messages. What I thought was a joke was not funny. My friends, although supportive, called me out on my harassment. I am a medical professional and should have known better. I won't blame it on my culture. I am from India/Pakistan. I am in a foreign country and I know I have to abide by the rules. I was unfortunately suspended. Will keep details private to protect myself, but not fired. Moving forward, I have spoken to the women in my family and I'm considering therapy to help better myself. I am willing to show that I am working on myself and am very sorry for the hurt that I caused. My biggest mistake was not getting my own lawyer like everyone suggested. Thanks again and happy holidays to you all. In the comments, dude, the comment about being in a foreign country and having to abide by the rules? My brother in Christ, not sexually harassing or blackmailing people is not something cultural. It is the lowest basic human decency no matter where you live, grew up, or come from. It's not bad because it's in a different country, it's bad because it's bad. For reference, an unsolicited genital picture is not a joke. even if the genitalia might look like a waterlogged rodent fetus. This dude managed to shame nearly an entire continent and still thinks the real mistake was not getting a lawyer. There are literally thousands of people in the streets of India protesting against almost exactly what he did, but yeah, the lawyer thing, that's the really bad move. Am I the asshole for calling my aunt classless and outing her biggest secret to the whole family? I, 25 female, have always been really close to my cousin D, 22 male. He had a harder time growing up because his parents had some financial difficulties. He never went to bed hungry, but they didn't have much money for luxuries. My uncle met his wife in a strip club where she was dancing. No one in the family knows this, but she left that work when she got married. They have a business, which D works for, that struggled for years, but was one of the businesses that became vital during the pandemic, so things really turned around for them and they are making bank. This means that a few months back, my cousin could have an amazing wedding and a 2-month-long worldwide honeymoon. I was really happy for and proud of him. I grew up solidly middle class. Nothing lavish, but we had some things that some would consider luxuries. My parents, however, were not in a position to pay for college for me, which I was chilled about, and I got loans. I have been working for 2 years, and I still live with my parents while I pay off the loans. I, unfortunately, couldn't get my master's because it wasn't financially viable. Last weekend was my birthday party, and my cousin showed up without a gift. His wife made a comment, jokingly, about how they can't afford anything after spending X amount of dollars on their wedding. None of this bothered me because gifts are not an expectation, but my dad was visibly upset. I asked him about this, and he opened up a can of worms. It turns out that I used to have a healthy college fund until my mum secretly lent it out to my aunt and uncle to help save their business when I was 15. The agreement was that as soon as they were able, they would pay it back to my mum. They haven't returned a dime. They have, in the last 3 years, bought a second house, flown first class overseas twice, and paid for D's wedding and honeymoon. Their excuse is that I'm done with college, and their son works hard, so he deserves it more. My father got so annoyed at my aunt while relaying this to me that he decided to kick them out. While trying to calm him down, I said, "We both know that she only thinks about herself and D. If she had any class, she wouldn't dress like she's still a stripper." I was so preoccupied that I didn't realize that my entire family had quietly walked up with the candles lit, ready to sing to me, and that they heard everything. My aunt then left, and has since sent me a message that we will never be seeing that money, as it is now compensation for her pain and suffering. I didn't mean to out her and be so rude. I was dealing with a lot of emotions and shock over this, and I still am. My family doesn't know why we were so angry, and so they think that I'm just an asshole, and I don't want to tell them the whole story. But I'm not sure if it's excusable either way. So, am I the asshole? In the comments, not the asshole. You acted from emotions, and to be honest, your aunt is an asshole. Do whatever you can to get that money back. Use the text that your aunt sent to sue. People like that are horrid. You could still get a master's degree if you wanted to, because they stole from you. Low-key, I think your mum is too, since she lent the money in secret initially, and is probably a big reason your dad hasn't pushed for payback. There's nothing low-key about it. The mum clearly made a unilateral, huge financial decision without discussing it with her husband or thinking of her child. Also, that money could go to pay off the loan or just help with whatever the next big step in OP's life is. Like affording that master's degree that OP couldn't afford to get, or afford to move out, which is not easy right now. If your dad has any evidence of the loan and her agreement to repay it, I would 1. Pay a lawyer for a 1-hour consultation regarding the likelihood of suing her. The good news is that she has money and assets. 2. Armed with this information from the lawyer, your parents should approach your aunt and propose a repayment plan. Emphasize that the loan was an agreement and that they aren't willing to write off such a substantial sum. This conversation is a courtesy notification, not a negotiation. You won't get your aunt's agreement here. If she was a reasonable person, she would have already paid back the money. 3. I would disregard any noise about your insult. It's a red herring and a chance to divert focus from their theft. And 4. Once you assemble evidence of her broken agreement, pick one reasonable, credible member of the extended family and share the situation with them. Ask for their guidance around persuading your aunt to return the stolen money without resorting to a lawsuit. There is a small chance they can help, and nearly a certain chance that they'll take care of the family rumor mill, not the asshole. The evidence sent to the mum saying that they are not repaying is evidence of the agreement. Back it up now and in more than one spot. It's not just evidence of the agreement, it resets the statute of limitations because it's an acknowledgement of the debt. It is potentially vital evidence necessary for you to prevail in court. And now on to the update and answers. So my cousin asked me to meet him alone this morning. It turned out he knew nothing about it at all. His mum has been keeping it quiet. He took this week to consult with a lawyer to figure out how much they owe. He also has recently uncovered 2 things. Firstly, the business has been evading tax, so he's very glad that we didn't take legal action. He's started the process to come clean and pay that back. Secondly, she also borrowed money from my grandparents, a decent amount, which she never paid back. They have since passed on, so the lawyer said that that amount will form part of the estate and will be owing between the 3 siblings. My cousin offered to sell his house to pay in full immediately, if need be, but as an alternative, he and his lawyer have created a payment plan that would pay for my masters immediately. They will take over my loan repayments immediately once it is paid. They will continue paying my mum back monthly until the total is settled. We will obviously be going with the plan where he doesn't lose his home. Despite my cousin and his lawyers seeming fair, they have both advised me to find my own lawyer for my mum's interests, and they have offered to pay for that also. Because of the age of the loan and the lack of effort to collect on my mum's side, they could legally contest it, or some of it, but my cousin won't be doing that. My cousin apologized to me profusely and said that he wouldn't ask me to keep this secret from the family, but appreciates that I kept it to myself and hopes that we can continue that as long as he holds up the agreement that we make. My cousin is an amazing human, and we will work with him to try to make the impact of his mother's actions on his life be as little as possible while remaining fair. And the best part of all of this was that he planned on giving me my gift after my party when we were alone because he didn't want to steal my thunder. It was a gift card, and inside the envelope was a sonogram. I'm going to be a godmother soon, and I cannot wait. The answers. The money was in a savings account that was going to be used for my college costs. It was in my mum's name, and so legally hers. She told my dad when I was applying for colleges, and he's known for some time. I don't know if it affected their relationship, and I don't plan on asking. Her and my father have done little to get the money back because she is not coping well with the stress due to being sick. My aunt was upset because I outed a 25-year-long lie, more so than people knowing her previous work. I have apologized to her for what I said via text and have left it at that. I have yet to hear back from her. I have also confronted my prejudice against sex workers privately. I won't deny that I have judged her because of it, and it's not something I'm proud of. This blew up at a bad time because my dad had overheard that my aunt is so proud of my cousin for moving out and living on his own at 22. He just boiled over on my behalf. In the comments, looks like the apple fell far, far from this tree. Cousin has morals and ethics that his parents didn't teach him. That takes integrity. God, I feel sorry for that cousin. What a frickin' bomb to have dropped on your head out of nowhere. Kudos to him to making things right, but still, that sucks. Cousin has morals and guts of steel. Let's hope he breaks the cycle before it starts. When will people learn never loan money to friends and family unless you are 100% sure they will pay you back? Pretty ballsy to just declare that you don't owe what sounds like a hefty amount of money just for people knowing your old occupation, especially one where you met your husband. I get that it may be a bit embarrassing, but damn. She had nothing else. That was the last card to play in hopes of not having to pay up. And it wasn't a good one. A joker. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for euthanizing my daughter's emotional support animal for her own sake? My daughter recently turned 20. She's been dealing with major depressive disorder, social anxiety, anorexia, body dysmorphic disorder, and 2 autoimmune diseases since she was around 12. I am very involved in her treatment and obviously wanted her to get better, so when her therapist recommended getting her a dog to register as an emotional support animal, we got her one for her 16th birthday, named Juniper. I generally dislike animals, but it was for my daughter's sake, so I caved. Junie and my daughter grew close, and I've seen a notable difference in her since we got the dog, especially in her sense of independence and self-esteem. 4 years later, my daughter is now a part-time tutor, volunteers with the elderly, and attends school full-time with excellent grades. I'm so proud of how far she's come, and though I realize she has a ways to go, Junie has helped her, and I credit the dog for that immensely. Here is the problem. While my daughter was at school, Junie got out of the house and got hit by a car since we live right in front of a busy street. My wife and I rushed her into the vet, and were told that Junie would need surgery, which would cost somewhere in the ballpark of $2,000. I make a good salary, but I just cannot justify spending that much on a dog, especially when it may not even work, and Junie would probably be crippled. Plus, she was pushing 5 years old, and her breed usually only lives for 9 to 10 years. Due to all of these reasons, I decided the humane and logical decision would be to euthanize Junie. At this point, I called my daughter to let her know the situation and the solution I'd chosen, and she freaked out on me. She tried telling me how she had $700 in savings and would quickly find a job to pay me back the rest, to which I declined because A, it's not just about the money, and B, I don't want to risk ruining her mental health by her getting a job, especially since she'd likely have to quit one of her volunteer jobs, which have helped her so much. I explained this to her, but she wasn't hearing reason. So I put my foot down and said that my decision was final because the dog was technically mine since I paid for it, and then I hung up. We put Junie down, surrounding her with love and gratitude. When we got home, my daughter had just pulled in and was hysterical. I told her that she was too old to be acting like this, and one part of becoming a competent, independent adult was accepting what life throws at you. Now she isn't speaking to me. I'm beginning to think I should have at least told her where we were so she could say goodbye. On the other hand, Junie already served her purpose in helping my daughter, and she only had the dog for 4 years. So I don't understand the huge overreaction. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, you're the asshole. You likely ruined her mental state by killing her dog much more than a job would have. I'm amazed that you think what you did was okay. You basically killed her best friend. Also, 5 years is only half of her life. That's like saying someone is better off dying at 50 than trying to get a life-saving surgery. Honestly, I wonder if having a mum like that is part of the reason why this girl has so many problems. How sad. And I read it wrong, I know it's a horrible father who did this. Honestly, I don't even have the words for how awful OP is. I can't imagine how his poor daughter feels. My mental health is only just recovering from putting down my own cat 7 months ago, and I was the one who made the choice to do it because he was old and in pain. I can't imagine how utterly screwed it would be if someone had done what OP did. Your daughter being willing to get a job to repay you for the surgery was a chance for you to see her get a little closer to being a competent, independent adult like you claim to want. You're the asshole, OP. You didn't want to ruin your daughter's mental health progress. Well, you did. You were disgusting, completely and utterly. You're the asshole. I wish I didn't read this. This animal was a living being and a member of the family, not an object to be discarded once it had fulfilled its purpose. If you can't justify spending money on medical treatment for a pet, then you don't get a pet. Simple as that. People who have such a cavalier attitude about euthanasia make me sick. That's enough internet for tonight. You're the asshole. Jesus, this is actually sickening. Saying that Junie already served her purpose in helping my daughter is such a gross thing to say. How do you know your daughter doesn't still rely on that dog emotionally? Just because she's doing better doesn't mean she still doesn't have those mental health issues. You basically killed your daughter's best friend for no reason. You said that you could afford the surgery. I wouldn't be surprised if your daughter regresses majorly due to this. Shame on you. And now on to the first edit/update. Jesus Christ. Message received. I guess I am the asshole. I still believe that I made the best choice, but I suppose I could have let her be more involved. Some people are asking the same questions, so I'll answer them here. I am not a sociopath. I am just excellent at separating emotion in preference of logic, especially in times of crisis. This does not mean I don't feel anything. I love my daughter more than anything in the world. My wife was 100% on my side for the actual decision of putting Junie down and agreed our daughter should not witness it. She did, however, disagree with the words and tone that I used towards my daughter when we got home, which is where I began wondering if I was the asshole. I am not, and have never been jealous of Junie. That's ridiculous. She was an emotional crutch for my daughter, and will always be special to me in that way. My daughter did not love me any less after getting the dog. If anything, she loved me more. Lastly, thought that I would update you all that I did, in fact, talk to my daughter today. It took her some time to let me in, but once she did, I was able to explain my side, give her my reasonings for what I did, and convince her to forgive me. She agreed, and we are all moving past this ASAP. I'm actually about to run out and get her favorite fast food for dinner, and we're having a family movie night. She is still acting distant and mopey, but she has her regular therapist appointment tomorrow, so I'm confident she can vent there, and her therapist can help her get through this without any permanent damage. By the way, I also offered to get her another dog, which wasn't easy for me, and she declined, so I don't think her bond with the dog, and like for animals in general, was as unbreakable and solid as all you commenters are claiming. Junie just wasn't meant to be around that long, and I'm glad my daughter was able to have 4 years with a dog she liked. Now we're moving on, the end. Last edit, edit 2. To everyone leaving horrendous messages to me in my DMs, take a look at yourself and the words you were using against me, and consider how hypocritical it is that you were calling me the asshole when you're telling me that you hope my daughter murders me. In the comments, I just had your dog put down. Do you want a new one? No? Jeez. Guess you don't like dogs that much in the first place. Your husband just died. Time to get a new one immediately. What a tosser. That is what got to me the most. He claims to be sympathetic, but when she declines a new dog, his first thought is, I don't think her bond with the dog and like for animals in general was as unbreakable and solid as all you commenters are claiming. Doesn't even stop to consider that maybe, just maybe, that to his daughter, Junie is irreplaceable. I saw it as her both grieving and probably never trusting her dad with another animal as long as she lives there. If it was me, I'd rather wreck myself and slow down my healing and progress than risk bonding with another animal on the off chance my dad just decides to kill it someday. What a horrible thing to do. As he explicitly mentioned, he had the right to make this decision because he bought it. How does he not understand she does not ever want to be put through this kind of situation ever again? If she's ready for a new friend, she will get it herself. Chances are she'll never even tell him about it. I'm waiting for the update. My daughter left home and won't talk to me for no reason. He never even acknowledges, let alone says he apologizes, that it's either his or his wife's fault that the dog got out to begin with. And no comment or care for the dog's well-being other than it served its purpose and it lasted halfway, so that's good enough, bye-bye. Even in the second edit, like wow. Am I the asshole for wanting to be away from my twin sister? So I, 17 female, have 2 older brothers, 19 and 21, and a twin sister. I should mention that my family is pretty affluent. Ever since I remember myself, my parents encouraged me and my twin to compete with each other while they always favored her over me. She always had their support, and I was expected to be considerate. When I succeed on something more than she does, they ask me to give up, but they never asked this from her. I do love her and my parents, even though I feel like I've been treated unfairly. Both of us have aspired to be doctors for a long time. I studied really hard for it for a long time, and so did she. This year we graduated, and both of us applied for the same programs in the same universities. The process here is quite different than it is in the US. We can start med school right after high school if we get accepted. She wants to go to the same university as I do, and so does my parents. I, on the other hand, feel like going on my own and having a separate life from my sisters. I love her so much, but we've been together my entire life. She's an introvert while I'm an extrovert, so she followed me around most of the time. I've always included her and made sure that she's happy, but it's been like this our entire lives, and I'm honestly tired. Not to mention that if we go to the same place, I would be expected to study with her and help her get high grades, and won't be able to study on my own and focus on my own success. And my parents will be mad if I succeed more than her. It's been like this for the past 12 years, which will eventually hurt me. I just want to finally be a person of my own. This is where I might be the asshole. I got accepted to 4 different universities, and she got into 2. I waited for her to decide where she wanted to go, and then made my decision. Like I said, a different place. And then she changed her mind, and said she wants to go to her second option, which was the one that I chose. I said that it's not a problem, and I'll go to a different place, one that she didn't get into. My sister got really offended, and my parents are furious, even though I explained myself politely and said that I love her but wanted to get a fresh start where nobody knows me. They demanded that I go to the same place as my sister, or else they won't pay for my degree. Then I said whatever, and that I'll be fine on my own, and left to go to my grandparents'. When they came to talk to me, they just kept on saying how wrong and entitled I am, and I really have had enough, so I told them that I hate them for treating me like this. Now I'm refusing to talk to them and am ignoring their calls. My brothers and grandparents are on my side, but everyone else is telling me that I'm an asshole. So, am I? In the comments, not the asshole. You have the right to choose what is best for you. You have a twin. That doesn't need to define you. If you feel like you need some time apart, then that is what you need. No one can blame you for what you feel. Your feelings are yours and yours alone. I would talk to your family though. Sit down at the table and have a, if possible, relaxed conversation. Tell them how you feel. Don't go screaming and say, "I hate you, you always put me up against my twin." Say instead that you feel like there has been favoritism, that you feel like it has been a constant battle. But most of all, you need time and space to be you. Just you. Not you and your twin. You are your own person. Tell your sister how much you love her and your parents too, but this is for yourself. Make sure that they listen. It might be hard, you might cry, but don't scream or shout. Tell them you love them a lot. Try it after dinner, when everyone has eaten and everyone is in a good mood. How they are going to react, that we don't know. But remember, you're in charge of your own reaction, but you cannot control theirs. Good luck. This sounds a lot like what OP has already tried. Well, from my understanding, I might be wrong, she did it when she was angry and upset. Handling tough conversations when you're in a state of anger will make the point less obvious and redirect the conversation to the "I hate you" instead of the real facts. OP replies, "I actually explained it to them when we first applied to universities. They insisted that we'll try to get into the same places, and I agreed, but I told them that while I'm sort of okay with this, I want to be on my own and have a chance to focus on myself. I believe that I was polite, and I thought they understood me since they said that we'll discuss it later, but did not mention it until we got the answers." Not the asshole. Quote, "My brothers and grandparents are on my side, but everyone else is telling me I'm an asshole." Who is everyone else? Your parents and sister? OP says, "My extended family. Apparently, my parents told everyone how entitled I am and that I hate my sister so much that I'm willing to go to uni 6 hours drive from home just to be far away from her. I heard the conversation they had with my grandparents. You shouldn't let yourself be swayed by everyone thinking you're an asshole when everyone has been lied to by your parents and nobody has the sense to ask you for your side or your grandparents for their perspective. Yeah, but you said your grandparents are on your side, so that didn't work out well for them, did it? They don't want you to leave because they don't want to be stuck with your sister. They know what she's like, and as long as her insanity is focused on you, they can skate on by. Once you're out of the picture, she'll either turn on someone else or go completely off the rails because you aren't there to be blamed for everything, and you'll still get blamed for everything. i.e., her shitty grades will be your fault because you're supposed to tutor her 24/7 for free. They know she's nasty, but as long as she's just nasty to you, they'll keep shoving you in front of her to protect themselves. How wonderful and caring they are! You should really consider asking them about it. Here's the thing, it's never going to change. You can stay and suffer. You can leave, and whenever you come back, be it weeks, months, or years, you'll be in exactly the same place with them because that's where they want you. Your sister is a broken soul, and you're the bandage your parents try to slap on her. As long as you put up with it, she can't be that bad. And they can't be considered bad parents. Neat trick, isn't it? Back up to the post, we have an edit. Thank you so much for the support and ideas. I read all your comments, and they are all very appreciated. My brother got me everything I thought I need, including my cat. I called the university to ask if my parents can unroll me, and they can. However, since they never paid, it'll be difficult for them and the university can try to delay them until my 18th birthday. My grandparents assured to me that they won't let them do something like that, but still, it's nice to have plan B. School starts on Monday, and it looks like it's settled for now. I will update you guys as soon as I have what to say. And P.S., I don't feel like talking to them right now. It's like all of the anger I held against them is now very substantial. I hope I used the right word, and I feel like I need to cool down before deciding what's next. They probably can also use some time off. And now, onto the update. Hey everyone, sorry I took some time, but I'm here with an update. Had some problems publishing it, but it's all good now. Reminding you that English isn't my native language, so there might be some mistakes. So, as I think I said in the comments, school started 2 weeks ago, and so far it's absolutely amazing. I have great roommates and I love my classes. It's a bit intense, but I'm keeping up. It's truly a dream come true. Well, something happened. My parents apparently called my uni and asked for my schedule. From what I understand, they said that as my legal guardians, they're entitled to know everything about it. The school told them that if they want my details, they need to come and prove that they are indeed who they claim to be, and informed me about it. It happened just a couple of days after the school year started. They haven't contacted me until a week ago when they asked me to have dinner with them. They even offered to drive to where I am, which is strange, as in the past, they never even bothered to pick me up from my friend's place. And I agreed. It was on Friday. They reserved places in a fancy restaurant nearby. Dinner went surprisingly well. A bit awkward, but they were nice. And then they told me that they will pay for my school tuition and everything else I need, but only if I take a gap year. I refused, obviously. After arguing with me, my dad said that he'd had enough of my attitude and ungratefulness. He left a 200 francs bill and left. I'll admit that I sat there crying for about half an hour before I left, with the change, as the bill and tip didn't reach 200 francs. If you're asking yourselves what was that about, then I did too. I talked to my brother, and apparently my sister decided she doesn't want to go to med school. She wants to take a vacation to think about the future with a cleared mind, or something like that. And you guessed it, almost everyone thinks that I should go with her. After all, we're twins, and it'll only be fair that we start studying at the same time. There was no contact from my parents ever since, but it's kind of okay by me. I got a scholarship, and by the end of the semester, I might get another one. My grandparents paid for the rest, and they insist that I won't pay them back, but I'm already working on that. My sister answered my messages yesterday, and she told me that I hurt her because I didn't want to be with her, and she doesn't know if she can forgive me. I understand her, and I do really miss her, but I don't want to give up on my dream. I hope she will understand me someday. So basically, I think things are alright by now. Not much changed, but I have my grandparents and my friends, so I'm fine. I'll be completely calm only after my 18th birthday, when my parents won't be able to get me out of uni. It's really soon, so I'm optimistic. Thank you all for reading and helping me. I really appreciate it. In the comments, were they the type of parents who insisted you dress identical and have identical haircuts all through childhood? This is just so weird. I'm glad that school is going well for you, and you have your grandparents and brothers in your corner. Hopefully, if your sister goes through with a vacation, she'll end up discovering she enjoys being her own independent person just as much as you do. OP says, yes, every single day in elementary school. I felt so ridiculed and I begged them to stop in middle school. Thank you so much. Your parents did you and your sister so wrong. You more so. I have identical twins and from day one, you could tell how different they are. We treat them as their own person, but some people see twins as the same person. I don't know why. There is clearly two people. I am so sorry and proud of you for standing up for yourself. I'm glad to hear that things are going better for you. You deserve to have your own life and your own identity, separate from your sister and different from what your parents want. After all, it's your life, not theirs. OP says, yep. It's all I've ever really wanted. I think it's better this way for the both of us. Hopefully she'll understand that too. Great update. I'm a twin and I despise parents who treat their twins to be the exact same. Twins are individuals who happen to be born during the same pregnancy. You have done a great job realizing this and striking out on your own. You're setting yourself up for success and keep it up no matter how hard it gets. I'm afraid your sister, while she still may be successful eventually, is set up for the harder road by your parents' actions, which she is feeding on. Just be open to her when and if she wishes for you to support her, but be ready if she never comes around and set boundaries. OP replies, I feel like we could have been so much closer if my parents wouldn't have pushed us together all the time. It's a shame, honestly. In a way, I'm glad that I can be independent, but I feel bad for my sister that she still struggles. Our next post is titled, How to Help a Wife After a Bad Haircut. So my wife went to get a haircut yesterday, and there must have been a misunderstanding between the stylist and my wife, because the haircut my wife got was not at all what she was wanting or hoped for. I know that I can't make her hair magically grow back, but do you guys have any tips on how I could help her along? I have been super supportive, telling her that I genuinely liked the haircut, which I do, and sympathizing with her when she expressed disappointment and frustration. I just really want her to feel confident and beautiful, the same way that I see her. In the comments, I don't know if this actually helped, but once when we were dating, my future wife got a terrible haircut that she absolutely hated, and it made her not want to go out in public. In response, I went to the barber and told him to give me the worst haircut he could, which he did. Frankly, I think he had a little too much fun with it. When my then girlfriend saw it, she cracked up and felt better. Then we both wore a lot of hats for a few weeks. Unfortunately, there's nothing that you can do. Maybe try to help her fix her hair, but hair is something so important to women, and it can ruin our self-esteem. OP says, I completely understand that. The hit to her confidence is clear, and it breaks my heart. I guess I continue to lift her up and encourage her while it grows out. One thing is to stress that this is a perfect time to try something out that she might not have had the courage for before, like coloring or really short cuts. She already doesn't like the haircut, so maybe she can find something new to love. OP says, she wants to color her hair white, it's just not a cheap venture. Maybe I should have the conversation of this being an opportunity to try something new. If her hair is shorter, then it's cheaper to color, less balls of dye used. Also much quicker than for long hair to do a full color, as opposed to highlights. Just keep being positive. Keep saying she's sexy and gorgeous, and kissing and hugging her. She won't believe it at first, but keep at it, and she will believe you and believe it herself, despite the haircut. My partner did this with me when I put on 22 kilograms in pregnancy. I felt like a hideous fat ogre, but he always said that I was the most beautiful girl and would kiss me and hold me. After a bit of time, I believed him, and I got my confidence back. You've got this. Just keep everything positive. She will ask and say things to get you to agree how bad it might be, but don't. Just say positive things if your goal is to make her feel positive about it. And now, on to the update. So I posted a few days ago about my wife receiving a bad haircut from a new stylist she was going to, and I reached out and asked you guys for any ideas in order to help. All of you guys were awesome in giving me ideas, and while my wife still isn't happy with her haircut, we have made a plan for her hair that she's actually excited about. So what I did was, I called her old stylist. She became a color specialist and stopped doing haircuts, and explained the situation, and said that I wanted to see about getting my wife's hair colored and what kind of price we could work out, because money has been super tight this year. Well, I showed my wife the texts with her old stylist, and she's going to schedule a consultation to get some ideas and pricing, and we've been talking about new fun hair colors for her to experiment with and try all day. She's genuinely hopeful and excited about this new change to her hair, and I am thrilled to see her happy again. Thank you guys again for all the encouragement and ideas. You were all a huge help in giving me inspiration to put this together. Now in the comments, after I had a baby, I lost so much hair, to the point where I truly contemplated shaving it off. It was so bad, I had bald spots at my temples, and what hair I had left was greasy and brittle. I told my fiancé that I was going to shave it. He talked me down and gave me his credit card so that I could have a spa day. We also had recently moved and I didn't have a stylist yet, so I called the nearest one and practically sobbed on the phone. The stylist was incredible. The salon offered a free mimosa, and she then showed me how to style my hair to minimize the bald spots. She was amazing and helped me feel so much better. I know people will say that it's just hair, but I understand Opie's wife and how shitty it feels to have a bad haircut. The postpartum hair loss is a trauma that I was not adequately prepared for. I really feel your pain, and I hope your hair is growing back. Thank you. I was so unprepared for it too, like my body had been through so much. I'm already feeling down about that, and then my hair just falls out? It's growing back, but now it just sticks up everywhere. I too got an awful haircut, which was also 3 inches shorter than what I wanted, from a very inexperienced hairdresser who was incredibly arrogant for someone without experience or skills. I was so distressed, and texted my boyfriend who drove to the hairdresser and told them off, demanded I should not have to pay after the hairdresser dismissed what I wanted and cut my hair to what they thought was best. I ended up only having to pay for the wash and blow dry. Yay. Then he brought me to visit the night Christmas markets I love. Then on the way home, he drove me to my favorite cheap bakery, and we bought a massive 4-pound coffee cream cake for me to comfort eat. It was the only size available. I ate 1 pound that night. I got sick, but hey, it helped me not to think about my awful haircut. So, win? I want to ask my business partner to be with me romantically. How do I go about changing the context of our relationship? For some background, my childhood friend, female 31, and I, male 34, started a business together right out of college. We worked our asses off and became fairly successful, but we put our hearts and souls into it, and because of that, our social lives suffered a lot. She was always better at balancing than I am, and had a long-term boyfriend until about 7 months ago. They broke up, in part because he said that she always prioritized the business over him, though they were also long distance at the end, and that also played a role. She showed up at my house crying. We hang out, drink wine, watch movies. I'm chronically single and tipsy, and she was now single and tipsy, plus neither of us had had sex in a while, and one thing led to another. We agreed the next day to never discuss it again. We didn't want to screw up everything that we've worked for, or our friendship. Well, this wasn't to be because she ended up pregnant. 0 scares with the ex, 1 night of drunken sex, bam, pregnant. We discussed abortion, but she decided not to go through with it because she was concerned that she wouldn't get another chance to be a mum. We agreed that it could happen with someone far worse. We are already pretty irrevocably financially tied anyways, and we get along better than most people who actually tried to have kids. Living together just made sense. I had a house that I inherited that's bigger than what either of us could have afforded just on our incomes. So there's room for each of us to have a bedroom plus a room for the baby. We've spent most of our days together anyways because of work, so living together actually made that easier. Now we can carpool. We have separate rooms, though we have been intimate since she moved in and sometimes share a bed. I want to be with her, but I don't know how to move to that step. She's literally next to me asleep in bed. We go out to dinner together, spend most of our time together. I just don't know how to move that into a romantic context, or even if that's a good idea. I mentioned it to my sister, who blew up at me and accused me of trapping her, and said that my partner would think I'm asking just because she's pregnant. But the truth is, I've always loved her, but I didn't want to admit it because she's way out of my league. So, what do I do? How do I change the context of the relationship when we're already so, financially, living together, family, etc., intertwined? Now in the comments, this sounds like Forrest Gump. Tell her, and let the chips fall as they may. I hope for you. OP replies, the issue is that, as my sister pointed out, if she doesn't want me, I'm totally screwed. I lose my business partner, my best friend, and our co-parenting plans are screwed. Well, who's paying the bills? I can't imagine this is split completely evenly down the middle. And trust me, everyone around you thinks you're a couple. Once the cat's out of the bag, you'll get a fair share of judgment. It's too left field for most people, families especially. What do the families think is going on? The whole situation, from what you describe, screams denial. Denial of a relationship, denial of feelings, denial of the real issue. What are you portraying to the child? That you're together, or just friends raising a baby under the same roof? You need to put all the cards on the table and deal with the consequences. It's already driving you crazy, which is why you're asking here. People live in fantasies every day, but you're done with that. You want to merge the fantasy and reality you are living. OP replies, I own the house, but otherwise pretty even on bills. We make literally exactly the same amount of money. As for families, no one really knows that we're living together except my sister. People expect us to be hanging out together. We always have. As for what we plan to portray to the baby, I have no idea. We always used the term co-parent. Y'all already sound married. OP says, trust me, if I knew how to ask her, and by some miracle she'd said yes, we would be. Just asking, will you marry me, will usually help sort that out. Someone says to that, I think you're joking, but in reality, that's a terrible thing to spring on someone. Especially since Upthread OP says that she introduces him as a business partner, or the father, rather than a significant other. Life's not a rom-com where you can just ask your bestie to marry you out of the blue and live happily ever after. You have to be on the same page. And now onto the update. Short update because I'm supposed to be working, and I don't expect this to get attention because my original post didn't, but I don't know who else to tell. The day after I posted originally, I told her I'm in love with her and asked her on a real date. It went well. Really well. So easily and just good. She slept next to me again that night. I got to kiss her in public. She said that it felt like our little family was right, and it really does. It feels like everything just sort of snapped into focus. I'm gonna take everyone's advice and not just spring a marriage proposal on her out of nowhere, but I want to marry this girl and have more babies with her, because everything just makes sense now. And yes, she said she loves me too. And edit, because people keep asking, we've done paternity testing, and this is absolutely my baby. In the comments, I'm having a baby with my lifelong best friend who lives with me, spends almost all her time with me, and also we often sleep together. Do you guys think that she might have feelings for me? Lol. I read this, and my first thought was, dude, good news. You're already in a relationship with her. You can't really be sure. Maybe she's just being nice. Best thing OP can do is stay vigilant and keep looking for signs that she likes him.